Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Stories podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'm super excited that you are still in this space because here we inspire a generation, we tell about our stories, and we learn from other people's experiences. And that's why today we're going to talk about education. You know, they say if you want to kill a nation, then disrupt its education fabric. That means that any country in the 21st century, in the modern civilization, that is still dreaming of is still struggling to in empowering its education or its constituents towards accessing free and affordable education, then that country or that nation is doomed to fail. And today we're going to talk about some developments that have been happening in African countries, and to be specific, in Kenya, which is a country in the Eastern African region of Africa. That is where I was born and raised, and I spent so many years in school. And recently, a lot has been happening, and it is very disturbing to see that the government is working so hard to make sure that students do not have their rights, their freedom of expression, their freedom to showcase their talent. And that really speaks volumes to me because I'm a student. I'm a student of that line because I grew up. I grew up in the central part of Kenya, and when I was growing up, I used to participate in various drama festivals. I was very creative. I used to write scripts. I used to perform plays, and I used to perform even to the provincial levels. And I remember at some point, and even from that, when I went to campus, I was in the student school choir, and we performed all the way up to the national level. So I'm a student of that line, and it speaks volumes when I see a government that is trying and is fighting so hard to curtail the freedom of these students to express their talents, to showcase their talents, and also a government that is not willing to be corrected, because if you correct the government, this government, it's becoming, I don't like talking about politics because I'm not a politician, but this one, I have to mention it because in this space, we talk much about education, and my dream is to see every young person, whether in Kenya, whether in Asia, whether in Central America, whether in the United States, has at least accessible education and affordable education. And when they're working so hard to achieve that, they should be given equal and free, they should be allowed to express their freedom, to showcase their talents. And if a government is fighting so hard to make sure that these students cannot, perform a mere play, just because the play is calling out the government, there is a problem. And I've been watching lately on social media. I've been watching in the mainstream media the developments in Kenya, and not only in Kenya but also in other different countries. But today we're going to focus in Kenya because that's where I was born. That's where I was raised, and that is the education system that I have actually been into for almost close to 16 years. Yes, 16 years in school. And I remember when I was growing up, I used to write plays. I used to perform in drama festivals, and I used to be very competitive. And in fact, in my high school, I'm the one who wrote the school anthem for that school. Up to date, the anthem is still being sung word by word the way I wrote it. And therefore, when I see, and were it not for me being in a drama club, then I don't think there could be something like that, And therefore, I feel so much is needed for people who have a say to, or for everybody to rise up and say and condemn this act. This is. I don't know. I'm out of words, but this is bad. Where government has denied students, 15-year-old students, to perform in a drama festivals just because the the play is calling out the government just because, it's I'm lacking words for this. If a government is not ready to be corrected by its own constituents, then that government is doomed to fail. Every nation is founded on certain principles. And I believe for our case, our constitution speaks louder than or stands higher above everybody. And it's so sad when we see politicians in the 21st century still, trying so hard to go against the constitution, trying very hard to make sure that the rights of of the citizens are not upheld. And by weakening the institutions that have been formed legally by the Constitution and are recognized by the Constitution, and now the government or the executive is fighting so hard to make sure that these institutions don't function as they're supposed to function, that is wicked. That is, there is a problem. I've been watching and I've seen students from Butere girls. They had trained, they had performed on different levels, and this was their final level to be able to go and perform. Actually, from how it is right now, these students were supposed to perform, and if that drama advanced or was selected, then it would be one of the plays that could have been performed to the State House. It has always been. But now to see a government that is fighting so hard to make sure that high school students don't perform in drama festivals just because they think that the drama is being addressed to a specific person, there is a problem. Kenyans, there is a problem. When I talk about student empowerment, I talk about empowering students, and I compare, and I can see how students are being empowered here in the United States, and now trying to see some of the things still happening in Africa, and to be specific, in my country. Then I keep wondering, when will we rise to the bar? When will we be to the point whereby we are supposed to be? Because at this century, we are still so concerned about so many things like those. We can do better. We can do better. And shame on to those who are working so hard to make sure that students are not empowered. I saw, again, the government saying that, we are done with teaching, of all the things that you can get rid of in the education system. The government says that, we don't want our students to be taught mathematics anymore. That's crazy. Whereas the entire world is moving towards advancement in technology. We are talking of things like machine learning, artificial intelligence. We are talking of supercomputing. How will our students be competitive in the global arena if we are working so hard to make sure that mathematics is not being taught in high school? Whereas mathematics is the fabric of everything. If you understand mathematics, then there's nothing that you cannot figure out. And so it beats logic to see why an entire government can sit and say, we are tired of teaching mathematics in our syllabuses and we want to get rid of it. Well, might argue that we are an agrarian economy, or we are our economy is supported by agriculture, but Every nation right now is moving towards technology, towards STEM. And I can speak this with a lot of proof because I've seen, even in a developed country like the United States, that everyone who has a niche in the tech field, in the STEM field, has a very high advantage. Organizations are now spending so much to teach people about AI. If you are looking forward to be competitive in the global arena, then some of the things should not be in our priority list. Like things like, denying students to showcase their talents. Things like saying, oh, we are tired of teaching mathematics. And so, we can do better. Africa, we can do better. We can do better. A lot is happening outside Africa, and a lot is happening. People are actually getting into these fields, the STEM fields. And that's where the future is. That's where as a scholar, I can say, if you don't have any idea in any of this field that we are calling STEM, then please, you need to do something. And when a nation is so focused to getting rid of a very core subject like mathematics, then there's a problem. There's a problem, Mr. President. There's a problem as a nation. Kansas City, researchers and analysts are saying that will be like the tech hub for Africa in the next few in the few coming years. Do we want to import personnel from outside Kenya to come and and occupy those spaces just because we don't have our own? Come on. And if we are not training our students on these core subjects, then when will we rise to the realizations that it is too late, Mr. President? Above all, let the students have their freedom to express who they are, to showcase their talents, and also to be able to be competitive in every field. Well, that was too deep for me, but I felt like it's very important because in this space, we are bringing people, and most of them will be people from Africa and who have seen the light of the modern education, the light of what education can do in a modern setting. And most of them are really working hard to get these skills so that they can benefit their home countries, benefit the countries they are in. But if we have a government that is not rising to this conversation, then there's a problem. And wake up, Africa. We can do better. We can do better. And once again, let's give students their rights to showcase their talents, their rights to be who they are, as enshrined by the Constitution. Let's focus on teaching the students what is necessary, what every other student around the world is moving towards. And so that is my stand, because we cannot be, we need to talk about it. If we don't talk about it, then, somebody needs to say it, somebody needs to hear it, and action needs to be done. And I've heard, colleagues here and people from Africa descendant, and they're saying, that is uncalled for. So, well, let's do better, Africa. Thank you for watching this episode. See you in the next.